Hey everyone, happy Monday. So we are going to get rocking and rolling. So I already got up early, went for my walk. The sun is shining. Fall weather puts me in an amazing mood. It was 58 and sunny, which here in Louisiana, like never happens. So yesterday at the ballpark, we were there for 12 hours and it was like full on summer. Tank tops, shorts, getting sunburned. And the sun went down and all of a sudden it was winter. But you have to understand in Louisiana, winter is 66. I mean, like we were freezing, teeth chattering, freezing. So we say just fondly, I'm a Louisiana wimp. Like it just is what it is. So I am feeling motivated and excited and inspired. While I was walking, I was listening to a new podcast and I've kind of switched gears to who I'm listening to, thanks to my 17-year-old. And I'm going to play the first half, which is just 10 minutes of this podcast. And I'm going to try to share my screen. We'll see if you guys can see it or not with the show notes, but otherwise I'll copy the show notes, or I'll just drop the link for you guys so that you can finish listening to it. But as I was listening, I was like, this makes so much practical sense on so many levels for why we keep showing up, why we are developing the habits that we are, why we say the same things over and over and over again, because the people who succeed are the ones who just keep going, doing the same mundane things, right? Healthy habits aren't fun and glamorous, right? Business IPA isn't glamorous and fun, but those are the people. If you just keep doing the things, eventually you are going to find success. And so when I was listening to this podcast, How to Go from Average to Extraordinary, which is something that I'm really trying to instill into my 17 and 19-year-old sons, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to play some of this for you guys because it got me walking faster. It got me excited to know that it's okay to talk about the compound effect and the slight edge over and over and over and over again, because that is a fundamental principle that will not change. The ones that don't quit are the ones that are going to be successful, right? So I don't know that I necessarily have to share my screen for you guys to hear it. So I'm going to play it. And if you guys will give me a thumbs up, we will go from there. And then while it's playing and you guys are listening, and I would recommend taking notes. Again, I'm going to give you guys the link. I'll see if I can screen share so you guys can actually see the notes and we'll go from there. So we're just going to listen to about 11 minutes of it to get started. And then we're going to do our 45 minutes of work, because the work is what he's going to talk about in doing those things. So hold on really quick. And of course, I'm going to have to stay unmuted because I'm going to play this. But if you guys would just give me a thumbs up.
Involves winning. And I've been asked, Ed, can you please give us one of the invisible keys to winning that separates the winners from the losers in any endeavor? And so I'm going to do that today. You know, there's a million keys to winning, but one of the things, I want to take the mystery out of it for you. First thing is, I'm always a little bit concerned, it's trepidatious for me to talk about winning and losing, because I know how small the difference between winning and losing is. It's almost too scary to talk about. It's really true. I've watched people get very close to winning, and it's that one little thing they miss, that invisible thing that separates the winners from the losers. It truly is a game of inches and millimeters when it comes to winning in business, winning in sports, winning in life, winning in our body, winning in our emotions. It's the small things I found. And I think most people want to believe that there's all of these secrets to winning, because as long as it's secretive and they don't do it, then they've got an excuse as to why they haven't won. But what if the truth is, there really aren't any secrets? There just really aren't. That we all sort of really know what we need to do to win. But what it comes down to, that little thing, that separator that's too scary to talk about, is our willingness to do those things and the consistency with which we do them. Here's what I found. The people that are average and ordinary in most endeavors in life do the things they need to do occasionally. And the people that win and dominate do them every day. They just do it more consistently. They do the things that the average do once in a while, they do all the time. And that's the separator. It's not, you can't do something when you feel like it. You can't do things on the days that you feel great. The separator isn't who's more motivated, right? Motivation is important, inspiration is important. But the truth is, it's what do you do on the days that you are not motivated, that you are not inspired? Do you have the habits and rituals and disciplines, the guts, the grit, frankly, to step up and do the things that you know you need to do all the time, not some of the time. And when you stack up those all the times, those are the inches that you fight for that separate the greats from the average, the ones that become the best ever, the goats in their industry, the best moms, the best dads, the multimillionaire entrepreneur, compared to the ones that just do okay. It's interesting, you know, there's a rhythm and a pace to success that I think most people aren't familiar with. I can promise you right now that if you spend a day with some of the top entrepreneurs in the world, there's a rhythm and a pace that you probably aren't used to. It's faster, it's quicker. They talk faster, they walk faster, they think faster, they make decisions faster. And it's just a hair. Like if you watch an average, ordinary entrepreneur, they look like they're working hard. They look like they do things most days, but it's a little slower. The cadence, the rhythm isn't quite what it is for those that dominate. I can tell you there's a rhythm to success. And once you understand that rhythm, which I'm trying to explain to you, it's 15% faster. It's 20% faster. It's not 100 times. They don't do a million things better. They do a few things better, and they do those things consistently, and they do them faster and more repetitiously. You know, really the best ability in life is availability. The best ability is availability. It's showing up and doing things consistently on a regular basis that most people just can't have the discipline to do. They get what I call leadership fatigue, or they get routine fatigue. They just get tired of saying the same things over and over again, of doing the same things over and over again. And that's what discipline is. Discipline is the ability to do things when you don't feel like it, and when you're tired of doing it, when you're fatigued, when you're bored with doing it. Most winning is not beautiful. It's a grind. And remember this, when you're making history, it very rarely feels like it. It rarely feels like it. What it feels like is work. What it feels like is lonely. What it feels like is you're the only one doing it. And that's because you probably are. But what you need to know is that when you're laying those bricks every day and the person that you're competing against is laying them every third day, eventually, even if they're better at laying the bricks, even if they have some magic brick, which there's no such thing, eventually it's the person who can do it over and over and over again that separates themselves. And the truth is, why don't people do things consistently? Because it's not sexy. It's not exciting, right? You think about the best, if you had a great mom, right? What does she do? She just shows up quietly every day and does the things that make a difference that aren't beautiful, but they matter. If you have one like a mom like I had, she was there every morning. She made my lunch every day on the days when she was sick and the days when she didn't feel like it. She picked me up every day from school. I never needed to wonder whether mom was going to show up to pick me up from school. You all know what I mean, right? Can you imagine if you were raised not knowing whether or not your parent was going to get you from school, not knowing whether you're going to have lunch every day? And I know a lot of you had to grow up that way. But the truth is, like my mom just did the quiet things that great people do every single day. She did her homework with me every single day. And I did well in school because of that. Whereas some parents did it only when grades were bad, only when they had to, only when there was a problem, only when they felt like it, only when their schedule permitted it. So my mom was a great mom, and some moms are average moms, right? That's what separates you, is doing those small things every single day. You know, it's like getting up earlier. In my first book, I talk about, successful people get up earlier. They just simply get up earlier. But how do you get up early? You say, Ed, I get up at 7:00. I'd really like to get up at 5:30. Well, you don't all of a sudden start getting up at 5:30. If you got up an hour and a half earlier, this is what most people try. They try to change everything all at once, right? Let me tell you what's going to happen. By about noon, you're going to be tired and you're not going to be your best. The way you get up earlier every day is the way you change everything in life incrementally. So right now, if you get up at 7 and you want to eventually get up at 5:30, do you know what you do? You get up 15 minutes earlier. You won't miss those 15 minutes of sleep. Now you're up at 6:45. And you do that for a month. For a month, you get up 15 minutes earlier. You won't even feel the change. It doesn't even seem like a big deal. It's a drop in the bucket, right? It's 15 more minutes. But then the next month, you get up 15 minutes earlier. Now you're up at 6:30. You're up at 6:30, and you do that for a month. You won't miss those 15 minutes from 6:45. It doesn't even feel like you've changed anything. But consistently now you're up 15 minutes earlier. And then the next month, you get up at 6:15. And all of a sudden you went from 7 to 6:45 to 6:30. Now it's 6:15. And before you know it, a month after that, it's 6 a.m. You can reverse engineer it all the way back. Several months later, you're waking up at 5:30, but you do it incrementally. And it doesn't seem like a big change, but it's huge because it's consistent. Same thing in business. If you want to start doing it, it's not making 100 times more contacts every day. It's increasing your productivity by 15 to 20% and doing it every single day. It's not massive changes. Most of you, if you're an engine, don't need a major engine overhaul. You need a small fine-tuning type adjustment. The old days of carburetor type adjustment. That's the difference. It's these small things. It's doing it consistently. And it's this belief system, listen to me, that you're going to become relentless and obsessed with what you're doing. You know what the great ones do? They do the needle moving things, the things that move the needle. They don't just do the routine every day. They do something in their life as a parent, as an entrepreneur, as a leader that moves the needle, stuff that can make quantum leaps, the hard stuff, the difficult stuff. I teach in my scheduling that I don't do first things first every day. I do feared things first. Feared things first. Get the thing you're most afraid of out of the way. You know, you do something consistently, you build the habit of doing the feared things first in your day. If early in your day, if you've got a call you don't want to make, do that call first. If you've got a meeting you don't want, schedule it first. I try to schedule all my difficult meetings on Mondays, early in the day too, because I want to create momentum. If I can do that when I don't want to do, if I can make that call I don't want to make, the rest of my day is like downhill. It's like momentum going down the hill, as opposed to if you've got that hard meeting or that one call or that contact you need to make, and you just haven't made it all day and you make the other ones, you know you're climbing uphill all day till you got to do that one. But if you just knock the feared things first off, then it's like cruising downhill all day. It's much easier when you create momentum. These are the things. It's the pace, it's the rhythm, it's the consistency, it's the availability. It's the game of inches that separate people. It's doing the things every day that the average do some days. It's doing it on the days you don't feel like it compared to those who just do it when they're pumped up and excited and they've heard the right podcast or they got the right Instagram message today. These are the separators. And when it comes down to, truthfully, is this belief system. And here's what I've always said, and I mean this, I think you've got to evaluate this truly. If you believe you're far away from something, you will pace yourself that way. I've always heard people say, well, business is a marathon. Life's a marathon. Life is really long. Life can be short if it's miserable. I can tell you that. Life can be short if it's not going very well. And although it's a marathon, the great ones sprint the whole race. That's not that they don't rest. I don't know, you know what I mean? What I'm saying is there's a pace. If you think something's far away, you act like it. See, most people don't lack vision. They have a vision. If you asked them, hey, do you want to be rich or poor? The average person would probably say rich. Do you want to make a big difference in the world or make none? I'd like to make a difference. You want to contribute or not contribute? I want to contribute. Do you want to laugh or cry more? I want to laugh more. I want to be happy or sad? I want to be happy. You want to go see things and create memories in your life or basically do the same thing over and over again? Most people say, I want memories in my life. So it's not that you don't have a vision. It's that you have a depth perception problem. You have a...
Okay, I am going to stop there. He goes into a whole another like 12 minutes of talking about 3 lies that we believe that kind of we sideline ourselves with. But how many of you, even just that 11 minutes of a podcast, you're like, I see you guys. So while I was walking, I'm like, I can't take notes and walk at the same time, right? Even just grabbing those 10 minutes of this is what it means to train your brain. When we talk about switching on our brain and getting our brain on the right track with our beliefs, our vision, where we want to go, you know, silencing the critics, getting rid of the skepticism, building belief for me is listening to things like this, because I'm like, heck yeah, you know, it just is that seed that's planted. Thank you guys so much also for jumping in and putting the link and all of the good things. So you guys can go listen to that. I copied and pasted some of the show notes here. Just make sure that you give credit to Ed Mylett. But he goes on to say, I want you to think about this. Believe it or not, you're only one decision away from completely changing your life, which is obviously the entire Slight Edge book and concept, right? You either do the activity or you don't. You either get onto the success curve or the failure curve. Every decision that we make, every habit that we do or don't do, whether it's a good habit or a bad habit, moves us one step closer into the direction of either our dreams or the other way. So he says you're one meeting, one client, one call, one step, one mentor, one thought, one breakthrough away from changing everything. And I love that, because I know a lot of people are like, are you kidding me? You're still posting in your stories. Are you kidding me? Are you still scheduling sip and sees? Why are you still doing 15-minute messenger events? Why are you showing up on that darn power hour again? A lot of times we feel like it's boring. I can't believe we're doing the same work over and over and over again. And I want you guys to remember that when you show up and you do the work, those of us that show up and do the work and get better and better at it are the ones who eventually will succeed. So take another 10 minutes when we're done and listen to the rest of that podcast. And I want to challenge you. If you are not reading 5 pages or listening to something for 10 minutes a day, you are doing yourself a disservice. And I tell my boys this all the time. I'm not asking you to do an hour devotional. I'm not asking you to go read an entire book in 2 days. What if 1 page a day? Like 1 page a day is just that one baby step forward, that one little discipline of, I don't feel like it, but maybe just 1 page. We all have 5 minutes that we can do one thing, make that one dreaded phone call, knock some things off your list. I loved what he said about do the feared things first, right? How many of us dread it and it just hangs over our head? And on Thursday, you're like, oh my gosh, I should have just done that thing on Monday morning and like checked it off my list and gone, like done. Don't even have to think about it anymore. I loved. And then I wanted to kind of pivot with what he said about, you don't wake up an hour and a half earlier and all of a sudden, how many of us are like, I'm going to lose 30 pounds and I'm going to change every single habit I've ever had in my entire life. And then 2 days later, you're discouraged because it's not practical, right? That's not our reality. But what would happen if we just increase our water intake? What would happen if we go from 6,000 steps a day to 8,000 steps a day? And then from 8,000 steps a day to 9,000 steps a day? Taking those small steps that turn into big wins so that it can be a learned behavior or an adaptation of healthy habits that we will be able to stick to, rather than, oh my gosh, I'm just going to lose an hour and a half of sleep. And then 3 days in, I'm so exhausted. What was I even thinking? Trying to think that I could change, what time I get up and all of that. So small incremental steps that eventually will turn into huge compounding results, I think is absolutely amazing. So I hope that was as insightful for you. Do the small things every day. Successful people do the things. So I've got you. We had Corinne on last week and we were talking and we are setting goals together. And every day she's been like, I messaged 10 people. Okay, I just signed another person. Okay, this, okay, that. And I'm like, dang, how's she kicking my butt? Like, we're only 9 days into the month. And I'm like, oh, because she's doing the small things every day that I'm not doing, right? She's doing the follow-up. She's making the calls. She's getting into messages. She's like, I just messaged 100 people about our next step challenge. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't message 100 people. So that's why you're having results and I'm not. So those are just kinds of those things that are just, it is what it is. So you have to decide, what are your goals? What's your vision? And he goes on to say, it's a marathon for sure, but we can't say, oh, it's a marathon, so I'm only going to take these baby steps really slow. We have the ability to put our foot on the accelerator and increase the intensity and the urgency with what we're chasing our goals with. And it's up to us. So it can take 10 years, and that's fine if you want it to take 10 years. But if you've got passion and you're driven for that vision of earning next leaders retreat, getting to gold school, ranking up to emerald, whatever the case might be, we have to have some urgency and some intensity and willingness to do the things that, no, it's not the same author. So this was Ed Mylett. What I love about Ed Mylett, which, like I said, Logan kind of put a bug in my ear. He's an entrepreneur. So he just talks a lot about entrepreneurship, but he also is like, I won't say financial guru, but gives a lot of good money tips. He's like all over with general wellness and entrepreneurship, living your best life. His podcast touches on a little bit of everything. He does love Jesus. He does cuss a little too sometimes. So, it is what it is, but it's just nice to have a different perspective from the normal people that I've been listening to. So I love that. So I didn't make a pretty graphic, but I'm going to get all crazy today since it's going so well. And I'm going to hit screen share, and then I'm going to hit this and see if can you guys see that? The gold school thing. Okay. So my thing with this is if I make this big and pretty, then do I lose my zoom? I never know I see it where my zoom controls go. Okay, I can see some of you. Can you guys see that? Okay, perfect. So we are going to rock and roll with some of this. And I want you guys to look at this list, and I want you to think about what are the feared things that I'm not doing first when it comes to winning my day. What are the things that I am putting off because I don't know how to introduce the plexus vision to somebody who I've never shared plexus with before? Or I'm really, really nervous about doing a three-way chat, or I don't have the next event to set up to invite people to, and that is overwhelming and scary. So I would love for you to kind of look at this list and think about what are those things on this Monday morning that I have been putting off, that I can make an effort to do. And then what are one or two habits or things that I need to add in to my daily routine, because that is going to be a small step or a small thing that's going to make a difference if I keep doing it day after day after day. Like I said, we're not going to all be able to say, I'm going to sit down and do winning the day every day, all day for 3 hours, 7 days a week, right? That's not how it goes. That's too much, too quick. So what's one thing? What are two things on here that you're not doing that you maybe need to do? And I'll just be the first to say it. I was so good for a whole month on reels and stories and engagement and adding value on Instagram. And then I got tired. It was like, I don't have any more content. I don't know what to share. And so now I haven't done a reel in like 2 weeks, and boom, my engagement, everybody's like, where'd she go? But it truly is doing the things, even when you don't feel like it. The people that win and dominate are showing up and doing the things consistently, even when they don't feel like it. So I am going to mute myself, and we are going to rock and roll with winning the day. Like I said, and thank you so much for throwing the link in the chat. The podcast link is in the chat. And we are going to rock and roll with this. And then I'll come back at the end if you guys have any questions or anything. Just a quick tip, y'all, as we're working on things. This number 2 section, getting noticed by adding, being intentional with social media posts. I think one of the biggest things about that is there a way that I can educate? Is there a way that I can encourage? Is there a way that I can inspire or add value? So don't overthink, the whole, I have to make the perfect Plexus post. I think one of the key things is there anything that you could post on a Monday morning that would make somebody stop for 3 seconds and say, that was a good quote. I needed that encouragement. You just remember there might be what things kind of make you stop your scroll, like, oh, that really touched me, or oh, or a giggle. Even a giggle is something that could be beneficial for somebody who's stressed out or having a hard day. So I think that's one of those things where when you want to do the feared things first and you're like, I have to have a perfect post so that 10 people will join my team just when they read that one Facebook post. Just remember that the winning the day is like multifaceted, multidimensional. With we're adding value in one way, we're reaching out and encouraging in a private message another way, we're caring about somebody enough to say, I know you're struggling with XYZ, would you be open to hearing about something if that can help? Just kind of as a flow sheet and a tip, chart for, it's not going to be any one magic success formula. There's no one secret to success for, if you do this exact thing, it's going to equal massive success immediately. We always have the Monday motivation from Plexus, the corporate calls, the Tuesday trainings, the welcome to Plexus Wednesdays. Are you utilizing those things? And you might have to invite 100 people over 6 months to take a look at those webinars before a few people say, oh, I get it now. So just don't get discouraged in that, and understand that winning the day is the daily habits of planting seeds, sowing seeds, fostering relationships, pouring into people, all of those things. And then it could be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Everything we're doing today, it might be February of 2024. And you're like, you know what? I'm so glad that I went live and shared this. I'm so glad that I was able to invite to this because it planted this seed. So there's definitely no get rich quick, find success fast. I love that these steps are broken down, but the reminder with the podcast is it's doing these things even when we don't feel like it, or even when it doesn't feel fruitful, knowing that it's going to eventually. one last thing I'm going to share and we'll wrap things up. If you guys are not taking advantage of the holiday line, you need to be taking advantage of the holiday line. I will just say I'm a lotion girl, and since I'm very sensitive to the 3-pack of the lotions, the 3-pack of the lotions are absolute heaven. And the scents, so it's fresh sea, nourishing coconut, and captivating vanilla. They're perfect. They're subtle but amazing and clean and fresh and wonderful. I'm ordering multiples of these and gonna do single little gift, break them up for gifts. This is the kind of thing that you guys have the opportunity with any launch or anything new, reaching out to all the people who have said no thank you, reaching out to all the new people. Hey, for once in my life, I'm going to start my Christmas shopping in October. Have you heard? I'd love to share with you something that I found that I'm going to order for all the people in my life. That's a great way to start a conversation, or start with your engaging posts. Are you gift wrap or gift bags? 'Tis the season. How many Fridays till Christmas? All of those things, you guys, people, you're going to have hundreds of comments. People want to tell you that they use gift wrap with bows, and they're going to be really excited about that. So using the holiday launch to message people and share with people and follow up with people, if you're not using anything like this, you are absolutely missing out. So don't miss out on that opportunity in your posting and sharing and messaging with the holiday launch, as well as Snickerdoodle lean shakes, posting all the recipes, all the things, asking about all the flavors. Somebody asked me how I do my protein pancakes. I just get some of that Kodiak in a box. It's like pre-made pancake mix, and just add 2 scoops of Snickerdoodle or vanilla into the dry powder, and then make my pancakes the same way. Absolutely fabulous. I make them ahead of time. The kids can grab them on the go. They eat them cold, whatever. So just giving that's a great value add. You're struggling to get more protein in your life? Snickerdoodle lean is your answer, right? That's a great opportunity to get that information out there, and get the twin pack. You get your cup, all the things, right? So don't miss out on that opportunity. It's a huge opportunity for you. Okay, my friends, I hope this was super helpful. Y'all go back and finish listening to the rest of that podcast and share a takeaway with somebody. I think that's one of those things. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to make a difference in somebody's life. And as you're learning, if you just share one thing that you're learning, that definitely will add value to the people around you. So thank you guys so much for jumping on. Yay for navigating through fearful things like screen sharing and audio recordings, but I will get the recording processed and posted for you guys. Thank y'all. Have a great one.